Well, hello, writers. Welcome to episode number 524 of Ink in Your Veins. I'm Rachel Herron. I am really excited today because today Dana K. White is with us, and I am such a fangirl of Dana K. White. And I think this is a different conversation than I usually have around here because we are talking about writing nonfiction and nonfiction that yeah, as I said, I am a super fan of. We talk about this road to success, but in a really surprising way. We talk about how a secret blog created this particular writer in this particular way. So that's coming up. What's going on around here? Just good stuff. This is going to be a very short intro. I'm just going to tell you that I am leaving in the morning for a writing retreat. I'm taking my bike. It's a bike trip. I'm only taking my Remarkable and my Kindle, not my computer, even though I keep thinking, oh, you should take your computer. You might want to do some things that will require a computer, but that's not the point. I'm going to think and to journal. And if I really want to write, I can use my Remarkable. Um, yeah, I keep thinking, oh, all of the things I could get done. But that's not what this is for. I haven't been on a solo writing retreat in a while. And I am excited about this one. Riding my bike to the ferry, taking the ferry to the South Island, riding my bike to the Airbnb. And all in all, it's not that big a bike trip. It's really small, but for me, it feels really big, especially just taking a backpack. And I always travel light. I love to take a trip with a big backpack for multiple days. I'll go for a week with a backpack usually, but I don't usually have to carry a big battery for the e-bike, or it's not the battery, but the big charging cable, which is like a huge, huge battery, and all of the things that the bike likes to have with it. So I'm excited. Tonight is packing, and it is already 5:15. So I'm gonna go do the packing and the getting ready, and then I'm gonna be out of the house by 6:30 in the morning. And oh, I'm excited. I will try to post some pictures. I will post pictures over at Instagram, instagram.com/Rachel Herron, if you want to take a look at that. Um, yeah, and I'll just say if you're not on my email newsletter for writers, I would love to have you on it because some fun stuff is coming up and I really want to talk about some behind the scenes stuff in writing and the way I'm feeling about it. So that's at rachelherron.com/rate. You can sign up there. All right, let's get into the interview with Dana. Dana K. White is a blogger, podcaster, speaker, and much to her own surprise, a decluttering expert. She taught both English and theater arts before leaving her job to make her family her life's work. In an attempt to get her home under control, Dana started blogging as Nony, short for anonymous, at A Slob Comes Clean. Dana soon realized she was not alone in her housekeeping struggles and in her feelings of shame. Today, Dana shares realistic home management strategies with her signature humor and a message of hope for the hopelessly messy through her blog, weekly podcasts, and videos. Dana lives with her husband and three kids just outside of Dallas, Texas. And I will tell you, because I can't remember if I said it on the show, but uh, the character, the contemporary main character in the novel I'm writing right now is a decluttering expert who uses Dana's expertise, uses Dana's system, and she's going to accredit Dana K. White in this book. Um, that is how much of a fan I am of her incredible system. Also, her writing is just incredible. So here we go into the interview. Please enjoy. Well, I am so pleased that you are here today. Will you please share your name and pronouns with us?
I am Dana K. White, she, her. I put the K in my name because I don't know if you know, but a lot of men know there is a Dana White that is not me. That if you Google Dana White, you're going to find him instead of me, which is actually not that upsetting to me because I'm like, the people who know me as Dana K. White, they're going to find me. But like random people in my life don't know to put the K in there. And they're like, I've heard Dana's a writer. And then they can't find me. It's the greatest. So.
Oh, that's so interesting. There
Is
is,
that bad to
I
say
feel
that?
pretty, I feel pretty bad that there is also there's another Rachel Herron who is a writer but doesn't spell it like me. She spells it Rachel, and she's about 10 or 15 years younger than me. So I already owned the URL to redirect to mine because nobody can spell my name. So it is, it is a thing. Well, I am so
Yeah.
excited to talk to you about your writing. And
Yeah.
I came to you through the decluttering world, and I am obsessed with your method, everything that you do. And I'm also just really in love with your writing style and the way you make us feel so included and so part of things. I think I confessed to you that in my next novel that I'm writing right now, my main character is a decluttering expert and will be using your methods and attributing them to you.
Love it.
But can you tell us a little bit about your writing process? You told me before we started that you are at an Airbnb right now writing a book. What does your process look like?
Uh, well, I wish it was more organized than it is. I always feel like it's very organized in the beginning. I every time I finish a book, I think that's it. I have no more things to say. That's it. I can't do this anymore. Like that was the last one. And then at some point, usually at a point when I am completely focused on something else, not thinking about writing, into my brain drops the next book. And so that's what happened with this. I was done and then I was on vacation. And I literally remember riding around with my kids. We were in one of those little kind of outdoor vehicle things. And I, I literally went, oh, okay, that's the next one. Like that sounds terrible, but it's never like this excitement. Oh, I have this idea for my next book. I'm like, oh, I'm going to write that. Okay. Okay. All right, here we go. And so, so then from there on, I, I just have my notes app on my phone. And every time a thought enters my brain, I go and jot it down in that. And, um, and then I transfer those into what I think is going to be sort of an outline. And then I start working on the outline. And then I just completely lose the outline and just start writing more and more. Anyway, and so I basically vomit a lot of words on very specific things and then go back and shape it all into the format that I want. Um, I wish I was more, I really do. But here's the problem is I have these great ideas and I'm like, oh, I got to write that. And then I write it. And then I realize I've already written that chapter. Right. And now I have two of them. And I have to decide either how to merge them or pick one. And that drives me bananas. And so I thought this time, because I was very, very structured in how I was going about this, that wasn't going to happen. And it still happens.
Nope,
Anyway.
that even happens in novel writing. I will do that.
Yeah.
But I also write nonfiction, and that I'm just this face that I'm giving you is the face of recognition of that. Because then when you try to merge them, it is impossible because this sentence is better than that one, but that sentence is better than this one, and then you just need to throw everything out the window, and
And
it's
then this sentence goes
horrible.
with this sentence that's really good. And that, yes, all of it.
But then you
Yeah.
say the same sentence three times. Yes, I am really, really feeling your pain. So now you're in an Airbnb. So are you
Yes.
more of a there are people who write regularly every day, but are you more of a burst writer?
Both.
Yeah.
So what I have to do, I have a business that I have built around this idea of decluttering, right? Like the whole goal was to be a writer from the very beginning. But I used blogging as my way to kind of get into that or to get into that. And then that turned into podcasting and YouTube and all this. So I actually have an office, and yet I cannot write books in the office because that is where I do all of my other work.
Yeah.
And something about the first book that I wrote, I didn't have an office yet, but I sat down to write it in the same chair where I had been writing blog posts for 10 years. And I was like, I can't do this. And so I used to go to the library pretty much every day. And this isn't like every day of the year. It's every day when I'm working on a book,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, and then our local library closed for remodeling. And so I was like, what am I going to do? Well, I ended up going to a coffee shop. And I actually like that better because I can go at 8 o'clock in the morning
Mm.
where uh, the library didn't open until 10. And so it really messed with my day. Right. So it's frustrating. I do have to buy something,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
I just get up, I have my coffee at home, and then I go to the coffee shop and buy my breakfast and I just eat there. And I usually work there for 2 or 3 hours. But I also need these bursts where I just leave the house. And this Airbnb specifically is one that I rent this specific one every time.
How far away is
So
it from your house?
it's an hour and
Perfect.
it's no traffic.
Yeah.
So it's very easy to get here, and it's also helpful, because Airbnbs can be amazing and they can also be like, where am I going? What am I doing? So
Hmm.
it's nice to have been there before. And and there's just something about like your whole body reacts to your space, and my body is like, oh, this is where we write. And I don't sign into Wi-Fi here. So that is like, that's part of it. And that I don't sign into the Wi-Fi at the coffee shop. I don't sign
Yeah.
into the Wi-Fi at the library. I don't do that because this is the place where I only work on the book. Not that I don't grab my phone way too often, but sometimes, when I have to, I'll put my phone in my car and not even take it in with me. I'll just, text my husband and say, "Hey, this is where I am. If you need me, you
You
can
can
always
call the
come
coffee
find me."
shop if you need to.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. Like in the
So
olden days.
I, oh
Yeah.
gosh, if somebody brought you a phone, that would be
Right.
horrifying.
Right.
So
Do they
I
even
do
have
know
those?
about your backstory in writing. Can you tell us about the blogging that you did? Because you did not try to break onto the blog scene in a real public, this is my new
Yeah.
blog way. Can you tell us a little bit about how you did that?
Right. So it was 2008 when I discovered what blogs were. So I had heard about them, but I didn't know what they actually were. I just heard, I remember Rosie O'Donnell on The View had a blog. And I knew that some like people would just mention that something would happen on The View and she would go home and blog about it. And that's like all I knew. So I thought it was just, expressing my opinions and whatever, that kind of thing. Like I didn't
Hmm.
understand what it was. And then I was really into couponing because I tend to be someone who gets really into things. And somebody in a coupon group that I was in said, "Hey, here's a deal on a blog that I found." And so I clicked over to it, and the person had coupon deals on there, but she also would write articles like talking about how to save money, all that kind of stuff. And I was like, wait, what? This is what a blog is? And so as soon as I saw that, I knew I had to have one because it had been my goal that when my daughter went to school, she's my youngest, that when she went to school, I wanted to figure out how to be a working writer. And so I saw what blogs were and I thought, oh, this is what people are doing. And I realized there's no reason to not do that, right? Like that at the time, especially I saw people who were turning it into businesses. And I was like, whatever happens, it would be worth it to have my writing in existence, right?
Hmm.
But I didn't start it for a year and a half. I didn't start it till August of 2009 because my house was a disaster. And I know myself and I was like, I cannot take on this thing that I'm so excited about doing until I get my house figured out, right? Because I also didn't want to write about, motherhood and life and all this and have to hide what my house looked like
Hmm.
because that you're supposed to have it all together, right? If
Hmm.
you're going to write about it. Um so anyway, I put it off and put it off trying to get my house under control, and then I had the realization that I could start a practice blog. And so I started what I thought was a practice blog. I thought it was temporary. I had nothing to lose. All the research that I had done for the last year and a half, I threw it out the window and I just started with like the free start. I mean, I think it was Blogger, and it
Yeah.
used to say like start a blog in 5 minutes. That is what I did, right? And because I was like, it doesn't matter. Like, who cares, right? Because this isn't real. And I made up a fake name. I set up a new email address because I was like, I wasn't writing to teach people anything. I was just trying to use it as a way to stay focused, as a way to figure this out. So, were you into blogs, like reading them? Do you
I had a blog
remember?
in 2002 when they were still called web
Oh,
blogs
wow.
before they
Yeah.
went to blogs. I remember having the
Yeah.
same realization, like there's a website out there that things change on. And you can go back and things are different again. And I
Yes.
wanted the same thing. I wanted my voice out there. Yeah.
And anybody can have one.
I was also anonymous
Yeah,
in my first one.
exactly. And
Yeah.
there was, yeah.
Hmm.
So there was somebody who did like 365 days of crock pot things. And she had this fun Stephanie O'Day, maybe, I
That's
think.
sounding
I
familiar. Hmm.
don't quote me on that, but yeah, but she and I had stumbled upon that through, reading blogs, and I was like, this is she had such a quirky, fun writing voice, and it was a challenge because she was like writing about something she did in her crock pot. And sometimes it wasn't even a recipe, like melting crayons in her crock pot or whatever, but she did something in her crock pot every day for a year. And I was like, I was so driven to go check that every single day. And so I was like, okay, I can write about my house. I'm not going to put a 1 year thing on it, but I am going to just write about my house. Maybe people would want to read that, but not anybody I know. So I did not start by saying, hey, everybody, come read my blog. I just started with no readers. I didn't even tell my husband what I was doing. I didn't tell anybody to come read it, but I did try the blog building things that I had seen other people do. Like there were link parties and stuff like
Blog
that, where
rings
you,
and yeah.
yes, that kind of stuff. And so I tried all of that, but I was thinking of it as I was just learning, right? Like I was just learning for someday when I start my real blog. And joke's on me. It's been 16 years now. And I'm like, oh, this is what I write about. Oh my goodness. And it took about 2.5 years before I got to the point where I was willing to teach anything because, for even, early on, people are like, teach us, tell us what you're doing and, teach us how to do what you're doing. And I was like, just read it because why would you want to learn anything from me? That would seem ridiculous. But I did realize that there were a lot of people out there who struggle the way that I did.
Mhm.
I was definitely not alone. And, um, and it was a moment of realization, like I said, just the what I'm going to write next downloads into my brain is like, this is it. It was just, I wrote an ebook called 28 Days to Hope for Your Home. And because I resisted when people would say, teach us what to do. I was like, why would you want to learn this from me? I am not I can't tell anybody how to have a perfect house. I was like, that's what you want, right? Because that's what I want. So I can't do that. And then it hit me, oh, I can't do that. But what I can do that doesn't exist is how do you go from completely and totally overwhelmed to, oh, okay, now I can do this. And so that was me both shifting into teaching and also realizing that there was power in this micro niche, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You had niched down into a place where you were comfortable and you made yourself comfortable. You got comfortable by learning how to do it the hard way.
Hmm.
And then you found this world of people who are like me. Like there's something to me about reading, not only just decluttering, which I enjoy, and both my partner and I are big clutter bugs, although she is worse than I
Hmm.
am. But I just love reading about it too. It's a comfort read for me when I'm reading about anybody's doing anything, and your books just jumped out and made me feel so at home and so welcome. And now
Thank
I'm
you.
a big fan of the podcast and all of that
Yeah.
too. And I'm just so glad that you are writing them. May I ask you, what do you struggle with in the writing?
I am so wordy.
Me too.
I am like,
It's impossible.
I will read back and I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, why did you have to say the same thing 6 times in one paragraph? And so I'm like, I feel like I'm deleting the vast majority of everything. It's the process, right? Like you
It's
vomit
our
the words
process.
out and then you have to do that. You have to have the clay, it has to be in existence before you can shape it, right? But but I do often just go, I get so irritated with myself and I'm like, and honestly, sometimes even products that are like, oh, this is out there. Oh my goodness, I could have cut so much. But little do they know I did cut so much and it's still like,
So I am also
yeah.
an overwriter in the extreme, and they're usually out of a 90,000 word book, I'll have at least 30 or 40,000 words in the trash, but there's a few that I've actually had more than 100,000 words in the trash that didn't make it in the book at all.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
wonder if and this is just me spitballing here, but I wonder if there's something to do with our comfort around mess and more and things
Yeah.
and stuff and items.
I'm
Like
guessing there is.
there must be,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Has to be because that clutter and that decluttering that I need to do in my, on my desk and in my drawers and is just what we have to do on the page too. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
So, would you be able to share with us any kind of writing craft tip that you have picked up along the way?
Oh, my mind just went blank. I really did think through the
It's fine if your mind went blank.
questions that you said. I'm like, did I have a yeah, I think it honestly is that. It's the giving myself permission to make the clay. Clay is not beautiful, right?
Right.
Like it is just kind of gross and is nothing, but it has to exist in order to make anything out of it. And so that going ahead and putting those words on paper um without thinking them through,
Hmm.
without making them perfect, because then that keeps you from actually getting the words on the paper. It's the same old thing everybody says, right? You can't edit a blank page.
Yeah.
So you have to fill it with words. I wish I didn't quite put so many, but it's worth it, right? Like that is what I have to do. And so if it's really a choice between that, which does get on my nerves, which does make me say, things out into the air that, nobody should talk to themselves that way. And I'm like, well, guess what? But at the same time, I don't take myself too seriously. So, um, but really though, like, that has to be done. And if I worried about it, then I would never,
Hmm.
get it written. So the other thing I would say too is the go ahead and write. I look at blogging, what it did for me that I didn't know it was going to do for me was that I found my voice.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the voice that was already there, but I found out what people liked. Like that was such like this is what resonates with people. I found out that I was funny. Now, I always thought I was hilarious, right? And the people in my life who knew me thought I was funny. But I also have that kind of sense of humor where you meet random people and they're like, because
So not our people
I,
anyway.
I mean, do you, sometimes, I mean, I'm so many times I'm like inside going, stop talking, Dana. Oh my goodness, you do not have to try to be funny about every single thing, but it just comes out. And so to like write and people go, you're funny. And I'm like, oh, I am. Oh my word. Like, oh, okay. But the confidence that that gave me to then continue to be funny and to realize that some people are going to get it. Enough people are going to get it for this to be a huge part of who I am as a writer. And yes, of course, there's people who don't think I'm funny, but
But they're not your
poor
readers. They're
things.
not going to be
They're
ponying up the
not.
money to
They're
to read it.
not.
You do, and I
But it
wonder if you
only happened from actually writing.
from actually
Right.
writing, from getting it
Yeah.
out there. And I wonder if you had the
Yeah.
same experience I did that was surprising to me because when I first started writing on blogs, I thought that I had to be somewhat perfect. And I
Mhm.
learned slowly that the more genuine I was and the more I showed all of my flaws and what I wasn't doing, quote unquote, right, or what I was really struggling with is when those were the blogs that blew up and got the, hundreds of comments. And that's how I learned to be braver. And what I just want to compliment you on is you do that, we talk about prescriptive nonfiction, prescriptive memoir, where it's a combination of memoir slash self-help. And it is a very hard balance to pull off. Usually it's memoir or self-help. But you do such a good job in your books of helping somebody. You are giving them instructions, like step one, step two, step three. I know all of them by heart. But you're also putting huge, gorgeous doses of yourself in there and how you have struggled with these things with concrete examples. How did you learn to do that?
I mean, honestly, I think it was the blessing of my secret blog. in the beginning because I called myself a slob. It was called A Slob Comes Clean. I didn't want to call myself a slob. I had often said it's not like I'm a slob. It's a fighting word. Like you don't, I never call anyone else one,
Oh yeah. Yeah,
but
yeah.
that is the point that I was at. I was at such a point of desperation and nobody I knew was reading it that I was like, what choice do I have but to be honest? And so I started in a way that if I had started as me to the people who I knew, I probably would not have done that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I look at that as something that is the reason I was successful, right? Like because and two, I got to see because it was blogging, I got to see what people responded to,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
What because you do shift into preaching, right? Or you shift into you know, do this, do this, because it's just that's natural, right? And I got to see when I am very honest about my struggles, everybody is in on everybody's, you
Everybody
know, gung
listens.
ho.
Yep.
Yes, they're all in.
Nobody yells at you, which is
When
the thing that we're scared of
right.
them that they're going to do when we're honest. But it's the opposite.
When I tell people what to do, they
Oh,
do exactly what I would do,
you can tell
right?
me what to
Which
do all day
is,
long. I also love being told what to do. Like honestly,
well,
I'll take it.
here's one thing I noticed through blogging. So, you know, the understood you, right? Like let's say that I'm saying you know, I'm talking about doing the dishes, you know, like sometimes I am so exhausted when I come home at the end of the day and I just decide I am not going to do the dishes, and then the next morning I'm like, why did I not do the dishes? It would have been worth it, and it takes much longer. That story, but told with the understood you of like sometimes you're so exhausted and you come home and you just want to whatever, like, you know that I'm still
Hmm.
talking about myself, right?
Hmm. It's got
But
both.
when
It
I
has both. Yeah.
right, but when I put you in there, people did not respond well. But when I
Mm-hmm.
put I in there, then they were like, that's me too.
Because they
Because
get the
they were getting to,
choice.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
they're opting
exactly.
in to say, "Oh, I am like you too. You are like me," and it's almost a
Yeah,
gift that they're giving to you, and you're giving to them, and they get, and it
exactly.
makes it safe for them.
Yes.
Oh, I think you do
Yes.
that so beautifully.
Well, and
That's
I also really found, like, I'm not sure what all of my stuff you've read, but like I know
I've
I
read
told the
decluttering
story
and I've read the household maintenance one.
how to manage. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've told the story somewhere, I can't remember where, but I, you know, in the beginning of blogging, especially, you are like, "Oh, somebody came to my site." You know, like there was some little site meter or something, and then
Yeah, yeah,
it
yeah. I
was a
remember
virus,
that.
and maybe I'll take it off, whatever. But
I forgot about that.
but but you could, like, if somebody came to your site, the last 100 people who came to your site, which, you know, was days for me, right in the beginning, I could click on it and go straight to where it was. Well, I clicked on something one day because I was like, oh, I'm getting all this traffic from this link. What is this? And it was a forum where someone had posted a link to my blog and said, she just said something about, this is so inspiring, right? Well, she had posted it to my homepage. And the top post when they came over was I had cleared the floor of my closet. And I was really excited and celebrating that. Well, the floor was clear, but the shelves and everything were a mess, right? But that was what I was doing. Like I was sharing the reality of, I'm so excited that I can walk into my walk-in closet, even though,
Hmm.
you know, I didn't say anything about, oh, even though it looks terrible, because everybody who was on the blog knew that, right? Well, the people in the forum were just ripping it apart, right? Like, just like, I cannot believe this person called this organized. And I'm like, well, I didn't call it organized, but whatever.
I called
You
the
know, and just all
floor
these things.
organized. Yeah.
Right. Clear. That's anyway.
Clear.
And so I understood that they didn't get it, right? But it hit me that the person who had posted it did find it inspiring. And now she, or he, I guess, but I'm assuming she, was probably feeling personally attacked because she had said, I identify with this. And they're saying, ugh, all the things that we as messy people fear people are going to say
Hmm.
about us, they were saying, right? And so it brought out this mama bear in me. Like, because it wasn't about them saying it about me, it was about her. And I went, okay, somebody needs to actually put this stuff out there. And I don't like it. I'm not somebody who's like, look at me, I'm messy. I still don't tell people in my real life unless I kind of have to, what it
Yeah.
is that I do. But it just gave me that realization that somebody needs to be honest, because I needed to know I wasn't alone, and my readers were telling me that, but I was like, they need to know that they're not alone. And so that gave me a lot of courage. I was still using a fake name, but gave me a lot of courage in saying, you know what? Okay, bring it, because somebody needs to hear it. And so every time I get negative stuff, which is really not very often, but when I do, I'm like, you know what? They're giving me traction with their negative comments, and that is going
Yep.
to get me in front of somebody who does desperately need to see this.
100%. And I will say that you've done a beautiful job. And I think this has just probably been organic from you and who you are, is that you are known for that mama bear caretaking energy. And I do, also I lurk in the declutter subreddit and those places. And you'll see, especially in the declutter subreddit, because you'll see people go to it for the very first time and they'll say, like, I'm in so much shame. I'm in so much, I can't do any of this. And, how do you start? And there's usually someone in there, or I do it, who will recommend, you can go step by step. You don't have to make anything worse.
Mhm.
Look at Dana K. White's method. And there's always somebody in there doing that. And it just feels like you've put yourself in a real gentle space of taking care of others.
Yeah, because shame is not helpful.
No,
And
it's the worst. You're already feeling the shame, you
yeah,
know?
exactly. Well, and that was the main thing I realized, was that most of the people who talk about this talk about it because they like it. Therefore, their brains are very different from my brain.
Yes.
And there does come a point where they're like, why don't you understand it? Like, what are you not seeing? And I'm like, oh, I get what you're not seeing. I get it, because that was me, you know. So um so that was another thing that made me go, okay, I'm willing to talk about decluttering, even though it's really not my favorite subject. Drives me crazy when my algorithm is like, oh, you like decluttering? I'm like, no, 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 no,
That's
please
like,
don't show
I
me
don't need
anything.
any more of that. Exactly
I'm
right.
good. um, yeah.
So, so as a writer, what is the kindest thing that you've ever done for yourself besides starting that blog
Yeah.
long ago? What's the kindest thing you've ever done for yourself as a writer?
I don't know about ever done. I can't think of anything like
One
huge,
kind thing.
big. But one thing I do, so we have a pool now, which
Mm.
I that's like my lifelong dream, was to have a pool.
Mm.
And we moved into a house that has a very old pool, but I love it, right? And it's summer. Are you in New Zealand?
I am. So, yep.
Okay.
I'm always,
Yeah, I
I am,
was
and
checking
I'm
on you.
always in the water. I'm a big swimmer. Even in the winter
Yeah,
now, I'm in the harbor. Yep.
I love it. So I mean, I love floating in my pool. Like, that is my detox time. And so even right now, of course, I'm in an Airbnb, so I'm not at my house, but even right now, when I am up against a deadline and freaking out, I'm like, this is priority at 4 o'clock to go and float in my pool for an hour. And I'm like, I can get back to work, whatever. But and that is different for me than what I used to do, which
Mm.
was like, I want to throw everything out to work on the thing. And I'm like, that only causes me to burn out. And so I'm like, I have to do the thing that, I don't know if it recharges me, but it definitely decompresses me.
Hmm.
And it's needed.
I am also a floater.
Yeah.
That's basically, I'm a bobber. I'm just out there bobbing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all I need. Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you. Will you tell us about a specific moment that you knew you had ink in your veins?
Um, I love this question. I actually, we talked about how I started the blog because I wanted to be a writer, right? Like, that was the whole goal. I was actually really surprised when I met other bloggers who weren't in it to write. They were just in it, and it was like, oh, I just assumed we were all doing this because we wanted to write.
Me too.
But right? So I had been building what I was doing. I had the podcast. I had, lots of things that I was working on. And I started talking to an agent, and we were just getting to the point where it was time for me to sign a contract with her. And, once I signed the contract, and I was like, oh, like I'm really in this if I'm going to sign a contract with an agent who's then going to try to get me a contract for a book. And my husband and I sat down. I was like, I just want to talk this through. Like, what am I doing? It feels like such a big commitment. And it's like we looked at each other at the same time and went, wait a minute. This is what it was all about from the beginning. Like, why in the world am I even taking a moment? I mean, although it's good to
Yeah,
think
yeah,
through,
of
like
course.
who you're going to work with, right? But this was it. Like, this was the dream. The whole reason I started that first blog post was I want to be a writer. And anyway, so
That
I would say
is
that. Yeah.
beautiful. That is
Thank you.
really, really gorgeous. And the fact that that came to mind and that you can remember, what that felt
Yeah.
like in that moment. You should remind your husband of that and just say, remember when we
Yeah.
had that?
Yeah.
That's so big and so beautiful.
Thank
All
you.
right. May I ask you what the best book that you have read recently is and why did you love it?
So I've kind of had not a great streak lately. And I don't know I don't think it's the books. I think it's my state of mind. So I was going back through my Kindle because I love my Kindle. And
Mm.
I would say the last one that just like really made me go, wow, and then look up all her other books, which I can't remember her name, but it's The Wedding People. Have you read it
Ooh,
yet?
no, I don't know this one.
It sounds like, and it looks on the cover like it's fluffy. It is not fluffy. It is so good, so deep. There is trigger warning, some suicidal ideation,
Mhm.
um, but it's so beautiful. I mean, it's
Ooh,
just I just it was the
thank
last book that I
you.
read that you just I'm
Yes.
like delighted and into it the whole time, and I just everybody stop, everybody leave me alone.
That's what I'm always
You know?
going for, which is why
Yeah,
I'm always
yeah,
asking that question because when we do
yeah,
get into those reading slumps, it's useful to remember the last one that you really loved to get back
yeah.
into, and then I can go look it up. And now, would you please tell us a little bit about whatever you want to tell us about? So your last book, anything,
Well, my next book,
or your
although
last
it's
book, or if you want to tell
my
us about your next
yes,
book.
yeah, I can. What do you want me to tell? My last one.
Both.
I
How about
have one
both?
coming out in January.
Yes, please.
So
Wait, you have
I
one coming out in
have
January, and you're writing the new idea. Then is that right? This isn't
yeah,
even. Wow. So that's going to make five
it's
or
big.
six.
Well, so the one that comes out in January is a children's book.
How exciting! How cute is that?
I'm so excited. Yeah,
What is
I'm
that one
super
called?
excited. It's called Winnie's Pile of Pillows. She's Winnie the Walrus. Basically, it just came down to it had to be an animal because I was like, I want an animal with cute facial expressions. And so it's so colorful, it's so bright. It's been such an interesting process because it's very
Yeah,
different.
so different.
Um, yeah, like you going, hey, like I don't know, what can I say? Am I allowed to say, can she look a little more confused in this picture? And like so there's
Yeah.
lots of interesting stages of it.
Because I get this
Yeah.
question sometimes from people, and I know much about a lot of genres in publishing and nothing about kids' books.
Mhm.
Did this go through your normal publisher? I think you're with Nelson, right?
I am. I'm with
Yeah.
Thomas Nelson, who is under HarperCollins
Yep.
Christian and who is under HarperCollins, so it's
Right.
like so Thomas Nelson has their different things. So like I'm technically with W, which is one of their people,
Hmm.
and then their gift book division, and then they have a children's book division that's
Wow, that
all
is like
under
six
Thomas
imprints
Nelson.
deep. Like that's a
Yeah,
Harper.
it
Like,
is. It's interesting. So it's the same contract.
right.
So that's what happened was my last book that came out in February was Jesus Doesn't Care About Your Messy House. And
Such a
so it
good
was
title.
this thank you. I love that title too. It's the spiritual side of things, So my other books don't have any Christian content in them, even though it's with a Christian publisher. But I was just like, this is a real issue for a lot of Christian women to like feel this unnecessary shame around this issue. And so I just wanted to
Mhm.
tackle that head on. So that I pitched that book and I pitched the one that I am working on right now and I pitched the children's one. And then they came back and said the gift book division wants a book too because I did Organizing for the Rest of Us, which
Mhm.
is a gift book.
Mm.
Um which I didn't used to know what a gift book was. Do you know what a gift
I've
book
had
is?
one gift
Yeah.
book. It was a book of
Yeah.
quotes. This
Yes.
fictional knitter that I made up and I wrote. Yeah.
Yeah. I love it.
But
Yeah.
but for people who
It-
don't know what a gift book is, can you please tell them?
yeah. I mean, it has pictures or it's more artistic, it's like it's kind of a smaller and it's like your four color pay,
It's it might be in the
kind of a thing.
museum gift shop or in the,
Yes.
the in the
Yeah.
airport bookshop on the tables. Yeah.
Yes. And like mine has a bookmark, a little
Ooh, I
book
don't have a
ribbon. Yeah.
bookmark.
So the fourth book, that one stresses me out a little bit. I know what it's going to be. I've come up with the idea, but like when I signed the contract, I didn't know what that book was going to be about, which is not recommended. I don't like that. Um, but that's how decluttering at the speed of life came about.
Really?
Because I just pitched how to manage your home without losing your mind, and they were like, "Well, we want two books," and so I was like, "Okay." And then decluttering at the speed of life is the one that's paying for my kids' college. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the one.
That's my
So
that's my holy grail right there. That
yeah,
I just love that book. I love it,
I'm
love
so
it.
thankful
So
that it
when
exists. Yeah.
with the kids book then with the sorry, and we won't stay on this long,
Mhm.
but like then when you have the contract, do they give you artists to choose from working with, or did you have to bring them an artist as well?
They would choose it. They told me to go to the children's book
Mm.
section and look at stuff just to kind of get an idea of what you like. So I
I would
did
want
that.
all of them. I would want all of them. That would be
It's
so
also like
overwhelming.
you find something and you go, oh, that's an author illustrator, like that's their own,
Oh, right.
and then you're
Yeah.
like, oh, and you go, oh, this person's been dead for however whatever. So but like it's an older, because I kind of like the older style
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
um and so I had heard another author who wrote a children's book talk about how she found her illustrator on Instagram. And so I think I looked up her illustrator, and then I
Hmm.
kind of looked at what the hashtags were, and I just started looking at some of those hashtags, and I found someone, and I was specifically, I would put in animals in people clothes, that kind
Yeah.
of stuff,
Yeah, yeah.
like this is what I'm looking for. I want somebody who can draw animals, fun, quirky,
With cute faces. Yeah.
cute faces. And so I looked that up and found a couple different people, and then I found one that I really liked, and I saw that one of the books she had illustrated was for my publisher. And so I was like, oh, so I just brought it up to him. I was like, hey, I really like Sarah Jennings, and that's the style I'm looking at. And they were like, okay. And then I get an email that's like, okay, she's available, she's going to do it. And I went, so I don't know that it's always that easy.
That's so
um
cool.
it does. So it's kind of like with a gift book. I don't know if you experience this, but in your contract you make X amount, but then you technically pay, like for the gift book, you pay the photographer out of that amount. So even though it says you're getting this amount, you're only getting this amount,
I
right?
had forgot. It was a
And
long
it's
time ago,
this,
and I only had line drawings. They weren't so I don't think
yeah,
I paid very much, but yeah.
yeah. So, and it's the same way with the illustrator. So it's like, this is how much you're getting for your children's book, but a little bit less than half of that goes to the illustrator. Um,
Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah,
but they do all of that. Like I don't get the
right.
money and then pay her. They do all
Right.
that. So I don't
Yeah.
understand why it's written that way. I'm sure it's some legal
Yeah,
thing,
that's fascinating. Thank you
but
for clarifying that for me because I have wondered.
yeah.
I have no desire to write a children's book, but I get that question quite a bit. So thank you.
My dream would be that this would be a series and that I would just keep on writing children's, because I'm like,
Oh,
that is fun. That's
may that
really
fly from the
fun.
shelves
Yeah,
then, and so that so that they come back to you and say, we need more. We need more and
I
more.
know. I know. I'm like, every single person who follows me needs to buy five. Like, one for each of
Go.
your kids, one for each of your
Exactly.
grandkids. Donate them to your local library, to the school.
You know enough
Yeah,
people. Just go get them.
yeah.
That's
I
fantastic.
hope so.
Where can we find you out there online?
I am. If you just search Dana K. White, as long as you put the K in there, you're gonna find me. So,
And if you find a
um,
man, it's you've gone the wrong way.
it's not me. It's
Yeah.
not me. Yeah, I often check, like if I'm on somebody else's phone, and I'll be like on Amazon. If you just put in Dana on Amazon, it will auto populate. It's not the top thing, but it'll be in
Nice.
the suggested things, Dana K. White books. So I'm always like, yes.
Ooh, that's
Um,
using the search engine like it is meant to be used. Yes.
yeah. So, no, if you put Dana KY, and my website is aslobcomesclean.com. That's the blog that I started anonymously that I had no intention of anyone ever attaching to my face.
Do you
But here
still
we are.
blog there?
So I do not
I don't either.
consistently blog. I honestly, that was a thing that I had to give up. At one point, I just had to say, I cannot do it all. And I don't think that this is the thing that's bringing in the new people. So I do have a newsletter where I send out older blogs, and I will publish once a month, sometimes every other week. Um, Letters that I've gotten from people, sharing
Mm,
their stories of
mm.
using the process and all that. So, yeah.
Smart. I just went and announced my new book on my blog because I realized the last post was like 2 years ago when I decided to take guitar lessons and write about it. And I was like, that's ridiculous. Kill the blog or do something with it. But yeah. But it has so
Yeah,
much
and
history,
one exactly. And one of the things we're doing right now is we're going through and doing posts about, and I say we, meaning my people, not
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
but here's a question that we get a lot, and here are blog posts and podcasts and
Yes.
videos and YouTube Q&As, direct links to exactly where I answered almost that exact same question, which is for the purpose, like we were talking about before, of because so many times people think my question is unanswerable. Like maybe everybody else can do this. Here's the reason why I really can't. And you're like, you can do it. You can absolutely do it. Look, yes, there is an actual answer to your question. And here's six other people who've asked the same question.
And you're not alone. That's the biggest
Yeah,
thing is you're not alone.
exactly. Exactly. You're not alone, and there is absolutely hope for you.
You
Yeah.
are smashing it. You're doing such a great
Thank
job,
you.
and your writing is just such a complete pleasure to read. I would read anything you wrote. So please
That
just keep
is
it
the
up.
biggest compliment ever. I mean, because who cares? I mean, decluttering is great and everything. I
Exactly.
want to be a writer.
I and
I'm
you
like, for
are
you
a
to say
writer.
that.
I
Yeah,
read your books like they're
that means
novels,
so much.
honestly.
Thank you.
So, and
Thank
I'm just
you.
so happy to have you on the show. Thank you, Dana.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. This is really, really fun. I love talking about writing.
You're
So.
welcome.